There's a glow that comes off that 2013 Topps rookie card, a vivid orange flash, the color of Miami sun on skin, stitched with a pulse of hope. You see him, mid-motion, torque coiled through his frame, eyes locked, every ounce of youth and confidence pouring through the seams of that Miami Marlins jersey. The name at the bottom reads José Fernández, but to the people who watched him pitch, it read like a promise. By the time this card hit packs, the world already started whispering his name. He wasn't just another young arm. He was lightning in human form, part kid, part cannon, with a smile that could light a stadium and a fastball that could silence it. There are certain cards that don't just capture a rookie season, they capture a moment in time, a feeling. This one does both. It's the story of a boy who risked everything to chase a dream, the story of a city who finally had something to believe in, and the story of a talent so rare it almost felt borrowed from another world. When you hold the 2013 Topps number 589 José Fernández, you're not just holding cardboard. You're holding the beginning of something bright. And in hindsight, something heartbreakingly brief. This isn't a story about tragedy. It's about what it means to burn brightly, even if only for a while. It's about the gift of seeing greatness before it fades. And it all starts in Cuba, with a boy who refused to be told that his dreams didn't cross oceans. Before the orange jersey, before the roar of Miami Nights, there was Cardenas, Cuba, a small coastal town where baseball wasn't just a game, it was air. The rhythm of José Fernández's childhood was the same as so many Cuban boys. A glove made from cardboard, a stick carved into a bat, and the sound of laughter echoing through alleys where dreams felt too big for the island that contained them. He grew up watching his hero, El Duque Hernandez, pitch onto the Havana sun and dreamed of doing the same, but on the biggest stage in the world. That dream, though, was forbidden. Baseball in Cuba was loyalty, nationalism, control. Leaving meant betrayal. Leaving meant risking everything. By the time he was 15, Jose already tried to defect 3 times. Each attempt ended in capture. Each time, he was sent back, punished, and watched. But he never stopped. And on his 4th attempt, one dark night in 2008, he finally made it. Somewhere between the waves and the stars, the boat he was on began to capsize. Without hesitation, Jose dove into the black water to rescue a woman who had fallen overboard. Only when they reached safety did he realize it was his own mother. That's who José Fernández was. Long before baseball made him a name, brave, loyal, and unshakable. When they reached American soil, he kissed the ground. He was 16, spoke no English, and had no guarantees. But he had a fastball, and he had faith. 2 things that would carry him all the way from the streets of Santa Clara to the bright lights of South Florida. The boy who chased the horizon had finally reached it. When José Fernández arrived in Tampa as a teenager, he was just another kid with a glove and a dream. But within months, coaches realized they were seeing something different. His motion was explosive, his command uncanny. At Braulio Alonso High School, he turned every start into a showcase, striking out hitters with a grin that bordered on disbelief, like he couldn't believe how fun the game could be. By 2011, the Miami Marlins took him in the first round of the draft. Not because he could throw 97, but because he carried himself like he belonged. He was the kid who had risked his life to get here. The mound felt small by comparison. Through the minors, Fernández tore through lineups with the same unshakable confidence. Greensboro, Jupiter, Jacksonville. At every stop, hitters came away shaking their heads, wondering how someone that young could pitch with such command and such joy at the same time. The Marlins knew what they had, a once-in-a-generation arm, yes, but also a spirit that could define a franchise. When Miami called him up in 2013, fans barely knew his name. That would change in one afternoon. He took the mound like he owned it, and in many ways, he did. There was a rhythm to his delivery, a poetry in his power. The fastball exploded, the curveball vanished, and by the time the dust settled, Miami knew it had found something that it hadn't had in years, a reason to believe. From Cuba to the coast, from survival to spotlight, José Fernández had arrived, and baseball, especially in Miami, would never quite be the same again. The summer of 2013 felt different in Miami. The air inside Marlins Park carried a pulse. Every 5th day, a kind of electricity hummed through the stands. That's when José Fernández took the mound. You could hear it in the way the crowd leaned forward before the first pitch, and see the flash of teal and orange reflecting off the retractable roof, because he wasn't just pitching, he was performing. At 20 years old, José was fearless. He didn't pitch to survive, he pitched to dominate. 98 on the fastball, a hammer curve that fell off the table. He made all-stars look ordinary. When he struck out hitters, he didn't just celebrate, he radiated. A grin, a fist pump, a look toward the dugout that said, "Can you believe this?" It wasn't arrogance, it was pure joy. By mid-season, the baseball world had taken notice. Fernandez was a rookie, yes, but he was already the face of Miami baseball. He was named an all-star that year, standing on the same field as his heroes, laughing with guys who had been in the league longer than he'd been in the country. And when he struck out the side in his first all-star inning, you could see it in his smile. The moment had met the man. When the 2013 season ended, Fernandez had a 2.19 ERA, 187 strikeouts, and the National League Rookie of the Year award. More than that, he had hope pulsing through a franchise that desperately needed it. Every card collector remembers that year, ripping packs hoping they'd find one. The 2013 Topps number 589 José Fernández rookie, a piece of the magic, a glimpse of the flame. He wasn't just good, he was special. The kind of special that baseball rarely gets twice. By 2016, José Fernández wasn't just Miami's ace, he was its heartbeat. Every start felt like an event. Fans wore his number like armor, waiting for that first inning fastball that snapped the sound barrier. He pitched like a man possessed, but more than that, he pitched like someone just grateful to be here. After Tommy John surgery in 2014 and the long road back through rehab, many wondered if he'd ever be the same. But when he returned, he was somehow sharper. His fastball had that same electric life, his curveball the same impossible break, and the fire behind his eyes burned even brighter. He'd been through worse than injury before. In 2016, he went 16-8 with 253 strikeouts in just 182 innings. Dominance wrapped in emotion. Every pitch seemed like it was there to tell a story. Gratitude, defiance, and joy. And every strikeout came with that infectious grin, that burst of energy that made even opposing hitters smile. You couldn't help it. He made the game feel alive again. He loved Miami. Not just the team, but the city itself. The Cuban flags in the stand. The rhythms of Little Havana. The kids who lined up outside the ballpark just to see him smile. He belonged to them. Every time he took the mound, it felt like the whole city was breathing with him. That year, when he pitched at home, the crowd, the team, the moment, it all fused into something rare. Joy that you could feel in your chest. José Fernández wasn't just throwing baseballs. He was throwing reminders that baseball could still be beautiful, that hope could still wear a glove, and that every fifth day, Miami had magic again. Every great story has a turn. That moment when the light flickers, just enough to remind you how fragile it all really is. For José Fernández, the shift came quietly, beneath the noise of success. By late 2016, he had the world's attention. The numbers, the charisma, the future that felt endless. But beneath all of that was pressure. The kind that only young stars know. The expectation to be invincible. The pull between living for the game and living as a 24-year-old who had never stopped running since he left Cuba. He'd talk about wanting to give back, wanting to build something lasting in Miami. He'd become a symbol of resilience, and symbols carry weight, sometimes too much. He'd lost teammates, fought through injury, and spent years under a microscope that came with both love and loneliness. But there were also moments of peace. Nights spent on the water, laughter with friends, the Miami skyline reflecting off the ocean, reminders that he was still a kid who'd outrun impossible odds. For Jose, the sea wasn't danger anymore. It was calm and freedom. In interviews, he spoke about balance, about growing up, about learning to breathe through the chaos. You could sense a shift. The joy was still there, but so was reflection. Maybe it was the gravity of fame, or maybe it was just life catching up to a dream that had moved too fast. Even so, every time he stepped on the mound, it vanished. He became pure energy again, a reminder of how much heart can fit into one frame, one pitch, and one moment. No one could have known it, but it was the calm before the silence, the quiet chapter of a story that had burned so bright for so long. Time moves on, but some names refuse to dim. José Fernández became one of those, not because of his numbers, but because of what he made people feel. His story stopped too soon, and that's what made it impossible to forget. On September 25th, 2016, the world woke to the kind of news that steals the air from a room. José Fernández was gone at just 24 years old. The sea that had once carried him to freedom had taken him home for the last time. Miami fell silent. The clubhouse was still. The ballpark felt like a church. Fans gathered outside with candles and flowers, the city blanketed in disbelief and heartbreak. And then came the next night, September 26th, when the Marlins played for him. D. Gordon led off that game against the Mets wearing Jose's helmet. He took the first pitch from the right side of the plate to honor his friend. When he switched back to the left, he swung and launched a ball into the upper deck. As he rounded the bases, he cried openly. Not the kind of tears you hide, but the kind that come up when you're carrying someone else's spirit. When he crossed home plate, he pointed to the sky. The night wasn't just about baseball. It was communion. A team grieving the loss of its soul and finding one last moment of light. José Fernández's 2013 Topps rookie card lives in that moment now. More than just cardboard, it's a symbol of brilliance, love, and loss. A story of how deeply one life, one smile, and one arm can move a city. He may have left the game too soon, but the joy he gave it and the light he carried never left. There are stories that end, and there are stories that echo. José Fernández's story never really ended. It just changed form. Every time a young pitcher steps onto the mound with a grin and a fire in his chest, a little bit of José lives there. Every time a fan keeps that 2013 Topps number 589 card in a sleeve, tucked away like something sacred, they're holding more than a memory. They're holding a reminder of what passion looks like when it's pure. The card feels almost weightless in your hand, but it carries everything. Cuba's salt air, the risk of escape, the bright lights of Miami, and the thunder of a fastball that once made the whole city believe. It carries the laughter in the dugout, the way his teammates fed off of his joy, the way baseball, for a brief, perfect moment, felt brand new again. And somewhere, beyond the fences and the static, you can imagine him still. Maybe every fifth day up there somewhere, he's taking the mound again. The wind-up smooth, the delivery effortless, the grin eternal. Maybe he's pitching under a sun that never sets, and for a crowd that never stops cheering. D. Gordon's home run that night didn't just honor a friend, it sealed a promise. That José Fernández light would never go out, because legends don't vanish when the game ends. They live on in the spaces in between innings, in the silence before the pitch, and in the joy of every kid who dares to dream that big. Every card tells a story, but this one, the 2013 Topps number 589 José Fernández, holds something more. It holds the sound of a heartbeat, and in baseball, that sound never truly stops.